Hey friends, and welcome back. Today we are going to be talking about macronutrients. So it's important to kind of have a basic understanding of these, whether you're counting your macros or not. I don't do it, but it's great to kind of know what's going on with the whole thing. So we're going to have them explained in a super easy to understand way here, nothing crazy or technical or deep. We're doing a nice little basic overview just so you can know kind of what's going on when you're talking about macros or when somebody brings it up. So like I mentioned before, I don't count macros, but super great to have a nice little understanding of them. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So there are three macronutrients, and they are going to be your proteins, your carbohydrates, and your fats. They are called macronutrients because we need them in large amounts. So this is compared to micronutrients, which we don't so much calculate in these large amounts like we do how many carbs or protein, grams of protein or fat and things like that. So your micronutrients are going to be more things like, vitamins and minerals that we get in very small amounts but are equally important, right? So macronutrients are going to come in different amounts of calorie per gram. So grams per calorie, calories per gram, yes. So fats are going to be your highest. They're coming in at 9 calories per gram. And then protein and carbs are going to be 4 calories per gram each. So what that means is when you're eating something with a higher fat content, it's going to be a higher calorie food. That does not necessarily make it unhealthy. We know that avocados and nuts are not something that's unhealthy. We just have to be mindful that they are a higher calorie food because they are a higher percentage of fats. So that being said, and I've got my little list to remember what I want to talk about. That's why I keep looking down. That being said, and on the topic of fats, I know that a while ago there was the whole fat craze, like if fat makes you fat and replacing it and taking it out of things and things like that. We now know that that is not true. Fat eating, dietary fat does not automatically translate into adding body fat. So not true. If you're still wondering about that, don't worry. We just want to worry about getting our fats from quality sources. So that's going to be things, like I mentioned before, nuts, avocados, quality oils like coconut or ghee or avocado oil, things like that. So we just want to make sure that we're getting quality sources of all of these macronutrients, all right? So main thing here, fats, 9 calories per gram, and they do not automatically translate into body fat. All right, next one is going to be carbs, and they are, again, 4 calories per gram, so a little bit lower than fats. The thing that we also have about carbs is people say to cut carbs and, low carb diets and things like that. But that is not necessarily what needs to be going on either. So when we are saying, and even when people say low carb diet, they don't really mean low carb. They mean low processed carbs, because if you're looking at what they're eating plenty of veggies and things like that. And vegetables are generally going to be mainly made of carbohydrates. So that's what we need to keep in mind. Again, getting quality sources of this macronutrient, so quality sources of carbohydrates, which are going to be things like whole grains, vegetables, and fruits, which are all giving you tons of micronutrients while you're getting your macronutrients, and lots of fiber and other beneficial things. Fruits and veggies are also a great way to hydrate, besides drinking lots of water. So that's with your carbs. So again, always remembering quality is the key here. So you can either be getting lots of benefits from your carbs, like I said, the fiber and the micronutrients, or you can be eating, pretty much empty calories when we're talking about carbs and we bring up things like breads and pastas, sugars, all that kinds of stuff. So we want to, stick with the side of whole, real, beneficial, nourishing food most of the time. Again, with all of these macronutrients. And then the third one, and this one is not very controversial. We all know, and I think it's pretty much can all agree, that we need protein and we need a decent amount. So again, 4 calories per gram here. And yeah, not too horribly, terribly much to say. Generally, adults need around, 0.8 0.8 grams per pound of body weight. So it's going to be kind of lower than your body weight for protein And that's just a very general rule. Now, if you're going into macro counting and things like that, and you're going to be either, if you're on a weight loss goal, it's going to be different. If you're on maintenance, it's going to be different. If you're on, a gain plan, it's going to be different. So don't take that to heart if you're going to try and figure out your counting of your macros. Just a general rule there. All right, and so before we move on from this little summary, again, like I mentioned before, you do not need to count these to lose weight. That is a great way to go about it if you're on a very strict performance goal. That's why you see a lot of these bodybuilders that do, if it fits your macros, because they are cutting and they are bulking and they have very specific timelines and goals and things like that. So it works great, yes. Lots of different diets and eating methods can work great. So just don't feel like you have to do this if it's not something that works for you. It doesn't work for me. It's too restrictive. Too much thinking for me. All right, so on to some more little basic things, and we're just gonna wrap it up for the next few minutes. So again, like I just mentioned, you do not have to count your calories or your macros, but we're gonna show you kind of how all of that happens. So I have this written out here, and it's very messy. But say that you are going to have 115 grams of protein in a day. The way that you would calculate how many of your calories are coming from that out of your total is take that 115 grams of protein, multiply it by 4, because protein is 4 calories per gram, and you end up with 460 calories of your total calories from protein. So it's super simple to kind of calculate it that way. You can do it with really even numbers for a better example. So this is going to end up being a really low calorie day. But if you want 100 grams of protein, 100 grams of carbs, and let's go with 50 grams of fat. So that would be 100 grams of protein times 4, 400. 100 grams of carbs times 4, 400, and 50 grams of fat times 9, which I have written out, which is why I had to use 50, 450. So you add those three numbers up, 400, 400 is 800, add the other 450, and we're going at like 1250 for the day. So very, very low. I'm not giving this an example because of myself. I eat way more calories than that. This is just easy round numbers. So that would be how you can determine what amount of calories you have in the day if you're starting from a certain amount of grams of that macronutrient. Now, if you're starting with a calorie goal and you want to do it the opposite way, I'm not going to do the math again, but I will explain it. So if you say you want to have 2,000 calories a day and you want to break it down into macronutrients, you have your percentages from wherever you got them, if it fits your macros or you figured it out with a coach or something like that. So again, we're going to go really around here just for the first example. So you have 2,000 calories a day, and pretend you want to get 50% of those calories from your carbohydrates. All you have to do is do the math there and break it down, and you get your numbers. So that is how you kind of figure out your macros. If you want to go even simpler than that, you can go online and they do it for you. But this is not encouraging macros or anything like that. I just think that it's important to kind of basically understand each one and know a little bit about them. So here we are. That is it. That's a wrap. I just want to reiterate before we kind of finish up on this basic macro talk that each one is important for a healthy functioning body. Fats and carbohydrates and proteins, all very important. Different people need different amounts. If you don't have a super specific bodybuilding type goal, it's not something that's necessary to make progress. You can go on almost any type of nutrition or eating plan, and as long as you're sticking with it and you're following it and it's tailored to you, it's going to be successful. Keto, Whole30, whatever you may want to be doing, all of them can work if they are sustainable and you enjoy them and you can make it last. So just a basic overview of your macros here. and super important to remember that all of them are important and they are energy. So macronutrients are what gives us energy. They are what, helps us function and move and live. So they're definitely not something to just like completely restrict ourselves from and be miserable over not eating enough of. Always important to remember. So I hope this was helpful. I hope it was a basic, nice, easy breakdown of macros. If you are wondering anything about them, if you have questions, let me know below. And please remember to like and subscribe and share and all those wonderful things, along with telling me what you'd like to see next, anything that you'd like explained. I know at the end I probably started getting a little too into macro stuff, and then I kind of just cut it off. But that stuff's not important for this video. If you are looking to go further like that, you can definitely find it with a coach or with, a website. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope that this was helpful and a nice little overview of macronutrients, and I will see you next time.